Welcome to the Riff. Today on the Riff, Jeremy sits down with John Haynes from Snap Fitness. They talk about how movement and next steps can change your life. And they also talk about Jeremy's fitness habits and his Dairy Queen habits. We hope today is helpful. Thanks for listening.
Good day, Riff listeners. It is a treat to be with you today, and I am thrilled because I get to introduce my friends, the Riff listeners, to my friend John Haynes, and we're going to have a great time today. John, thanks for coming into the studio. We have reached the time of year where it's not warm in the studio, so you're not sweating, are you?
No, I mean, I sweat naturally and just nerves. So
you're a sweater.
I'm a sweater. Yeah.
That's all right.
This is what I do.
That's good. That's good. Well, I'm glad to have you here. And today we're gonna hear about kind of your journey, what you do, and what I've been excited about is to talk about how this might impact. There are people who are listening today. You might not have any clue who John is or his story, but what we're going to hear today, I think God's going to speak to us today. So thanks for being with us. So Tell us a little bit about who you are. Who is this guy on the other side of our Riff table?
My name's John. I'm a North Pointer.
In Nixa campus?
Nixa campus, yes.
Which, side note, have you driven by?
Oh my gosh. It is so exciting when I drive by there. And this morning, the forklifts were up and the booms were in the air and red iron was up and over half of the concrete bay of you could see steel. It's just so cool.
That's awesome. Now, by the time this drops, we'll have already been meeting in there. No, I'm just kidding. We won't. We won't. I don't think it'll happen that quick. It's going to be fall 2023, but it's coming.
Yes.
Okay. Yes.
I
love it.
September-ish, right?
Yeah.
We're not allowed to say June or July.
We're kind of hoping.
Yeah. I've heard.
No pressure, Snyder, but we're hoping.
I've heard those rumors.
Yeah.
But yeah, North Pointer.
How long you been North Pointer?
8 years.
Oh my! Okay,
yeah.
And, so you are seasoned. You are somewhat. a long in the tooth North Pointer here.
Somewhat.
Okay.
I've had my ebbs and flows with consistency with church. Just as
are you ebbing or flowing right now?
I'm flowing.
Okay, I like that. Okay,
I am flowing, and I think that's why God gave me the opportunity, or even input it into you to invite me here today.
Yeah.
I just feel blessed for the opportunity to talk about things that have changed my life.
That's awesome,
and along with just getting an opportunity to say thank you for playing a part in that. And you don't know how many people's lives that you touch, and I won't get sappy on you, but a lot, and I'm one of them. And so just to have the opportunity to sit here in front of you and riff, I feel blessed.
That's awesome. Well, we're thrilled to have you. So I want to go back to the beginning. Tell us a little bit about where you grew up. What was that like for you?
I grew up in West Plains, Missouri.
The home of the Zizzers?
Home of the Zizzers.
Were you a Zizzer?
A Zizzer.
Doesn't that mean a distinguished gentleman?
It's close. It's close.
So that means wrong.
It's the definition is winner.
A winner.
Yes. So we were told that when we were asked in public, what is a Zizzer? And they might add a few other words to that. What the heck is a Zizzer? A winner was supposed to be our initial answer.
Okay. I like it.
If you look it up, there's some nonsense about how it might have derived from a mountain out in California. I don't know.
Are you talking about Mount Zizzer?
Yes, exactly. Yes.
Maybe. I'm sure it's unrelated.
Yeah. So anyway, a winner, I like to think.
Okay.
And I did have the opportunity to do some winning with the cross country team in West Plains. Plains is well known for its running program, and specifically.
To be honest, I've never heard of the running program, so I don't know how well known.
Ouch!
You're a winner.
Are you listening, West Plains? Okay.
So you were long distance.
Long distance.
Okay.
Yeah, that's what I knew. I wasn't great at ball sports. I couldn't. They weren't my thing. And I picked up running and was invited onto the cross country team at a young age and asked to go and train with some of the more elite runners. And I became not one of the most elite, but I became pretty good.
Really?
I got fast and I got to go to state and I got to be part of some championship teams.
Wow.
Yep.
Okay.
That's my athletic history in a nutshell.
Well, I mean, I would look at you as kind of still quite an athlete. So tell us about how, so you get out of West Plains. What brought you to Springfield?
So that's
Springfield's like a little suburb of West Plains.
in a way, right?
Yeah.
And so that's where things kind of shifted for me. And my journey with God was not strong whatsoever.
Now, did you have one growing up in West Plains?
I did.
Okay.
I did. And I journeyed away from that, much like one of your guests the other day was talking about. I believe it was Farmer Dan. He mentioned in that 18, 19-year-old age and of steering away, and that age got me. I lost my mom to a tragic car accident, and all the choices were available, all the wrong choices, and I started making some of them. My 14-year-old daughter came into my world in 2007.
Okay.
Actually, we found out that she was pregnant and had her in 2008. And she lived in Springfield.
Okay.
My daughter's mom, whom we have a great co-parenting relationship with today. I'm super thankful for. Big shout out to North Point for helping me stay patient and learn how to do stuff like that. But that took me to Springfield. She was in Springfield. I wanted to be a part of my baby's life, and that was the initiation of my journey to Springfield. Kind of depending on which way you want me to take this, I'll let you kind of ask me the next questions. But that's what brought me to Springfield.
Yeah. So then, what did you do work-wise?
I needed work. I was working about 4 different jobs. I was overnight working, scrubbing and buffing floors. I was hotel security. I was also I started part-time managing the Snap Fitness Club that I now, actually in a very short amount of time, I'm going to be a sole owner of. And so this leap here that I'm taking from when I got here to what I'm telling you now is huge and not anything short of the glory of God. But I was working a few jobs, and one of them was the fitness job that I still have now. Now, were
you built like a cross-country runner at the time?
I was, yes. I was still pretty lean, and a lot of people don't like hearing this, but I had trouble gaining weight.
Yeah.
And so that was something that was challenging for me.
Never have.
Well, but now I don't, and so now I can gain it, pretty easily. But the turnaround from coming to West Plains to Springfield, needing work, being motivated to work because I had a child, I wanted to take care of her and do the right things, but still not making some of the best decisions. Okay. And so I was still struggling with alcohol, and alcohol is something I'm pretty passionate about talking about and passionate about staying away from. But I'm also passionate about hearing people talk about it because I understand what it feels like to feel like you need that to get through a day. And
so that was kind of like your cope.
It was miserable. And when I fell back into fitness, into the industry the way that I did, I started remembering how good it felt to move and how movement made me have a similar excitement that alcohol did, except it didn't leave me feeling miserable and regretful and all the other things that go with that.
Okay.
And I fell deeper into it to the point of I want to change people's lives. And so then I started studying through the National Academy of Sports Medicine, and I became a certified trainer, not just in the management, not just just kind of I know stuff. I've been athletic. I really dug into it and started to understand why the body works a certain way and kinesiology, if you will. So,
wow.
And then along the way, I don't see why it wouldn't be okay to say this on here, but I found a program that helped me alongside North Point.
Yeah.
So a program, a 12-step program also helped me get my life in a direction that it needed to be. And I'm not hesitant to talk about that today because that program played a huge role and still does in my thinking.
What program was it?
AA.
Okay.
Yep.
So, I would describe, I've heard this described, from several different people that AA is one of the best churches they've ever been to from people. How could someone feel that way? And for you have such a powerful program. Give us a little bit about how God used that tool in your life.
It humbles you. You think you're alone, much like a lot of people walk into church. But you walk in thinking that you're the only one that wants to drink this way, and then you're the only one that thinks that you need to drink this way.
Right.
And it's so not true. There's so many that still haven't had the opportunity to walk through the doors and feel that. But it's God is there, and what's neat about the program is they don't force God, but it's all over the walls. It's in the books. It's there, and they give you a choice. You're going to have to find something, and they call that something a higher power.
Yeah.
But I was cool right away with God.
Yeah.
And I wanted God's help.
Right.
And it still took time and work and effort, and all of a sudden my thinking changed. I didn't want to drink. I wanted to help people. I wanted to move.
At what point did you realize, even before AA, because rarely do you just drift into AA,
Correct.
Someone's deal. At what point did you realize, I need some help. I need some outside help with this?
Yeah. So I'm going to do my very best job to not get emotional here, but a DWI, the scary, the other side of somebody taking away privileges from you.
Wow.
That big privileges that made it so difficult to do what I came up here to do anyway, which was raise my daughter. And pardon the crackling voice, but when I go back to that, I'm proud that I put the work in, because it was so hard to organize rides to get her certain places, to get me certain places. Of course, I needed to get to meetings. I wanted to start going to church, and all that organization. It was exhausting, yet so powerful.
Yeah.
And it still today changes my thinking of just how thankful I could be just to get to drive over here today. I was thinking about that, like, hey, it's a blessing. And I've had my driver's license back for like 6 years, and it's still right behind me though, of all the work that it took to get there.
Wow.
Because of my own mistakes.
Yeah. That's so powerful that you were able to cry out and then see changes involved in your life. So now you say that you want to be part of doing this for others, and that was kind of your journey for you, it's been Snap Fitness. So how long have you been with Snap Fitness?
10 years.
Okay. All at the same branch, Southeast Springfield.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
So
Yep.
It's right by where I get my chicken strips at Dairy Queen.
Yes.
So,
Please
dunk them in gravy.
Please wave. And on Fridays, come share.
That's right. So tell us a little bit about what was that journey going from, hey, I'm working here, to now I'm on this road to being sole owner.
Yeah, unbelievable. I've had a couple ups and downs. I think it's only fair that people hear that it still wasn't a perfect journey. I'm a little over 3 years without having a drink, but so you can do math pretty easily that there was some slip ups in there.
Yeah.
And those slip ups were God-given still. I remember still hating alcohol, being upset with it, knowing that I needed to do something better. And that was that turn into, like, I'm going to dive into the books. I'm going to, of course, I had a sponsor, had a different sponsor at the time, but I turned to him, got some direction, knew that I didn't want to, it didn't last a long time, and AAs will say a stumble, but it is what it is. You still feel awful after it happens, and so I there was something bigger than me thinking that I needed alcohol, and I found that both in the groups, in church, and then diving into people. And my way to diving into people was helping them with their fitness. Yeah. I have a funny way of being able to get. Say this right, getting under people's skin in a motivating way. Like, I can excite people, maybe not the same as you can, but you excite people. Yeah. And I have a way of getting in front of people and making them feel excited about movement, regardless if they're 100 pounds overweight or on the other side of the struggle trying to gain weight. It's the scale is so annoying. It's just a number, but regardless of just being able to have the opportunity to motivate people.
Why is movement such a big deal to you?
It changes how you think. Where all I ever wanted from alcohol was to be numb and numb my thinking. Movement makes you both feel powerful, like alcohol can. It's a liar though. Alcohol is a liar, but movement makes you feel and think differently in a positive form, and how can I, from what I learned, how could I not give that away in some fashion?
Right.
And the program of AA taught me service work, but I've taken service work to other levels now, new levels. I get to make some income off of service work, but I still make sure that I'm out serving, because if North Point says arrows out, if my arrows aren't out, I'm going to have problems again.
Yeah.
And the minute that I start to feel like I'm doing this, I start finding people like you, somebody that I can talk to, because I still need somebody to lean on. But movement, if my thinking starts getting sour, hopping on a treadmill, it sounds so simple and cliche, but hopping on a treadmill, cranking up the incline, and moving at a pace that makes sense for me and my body, all of a sudden, 5 minutes later, I'm thinking a little differently.
Yeah. So tell me a little bit about how Jesus has changed your life.
It's vast. He showed me ways to be successful in what I do. These opportunities that I've been given to steward something, and I feel like that's a more powerful word than owner. And I've only over the last couple of years really grasped what that means to be a steward of something. But to help Jesus and to help God's bigger vision of movement and service.
Yeah.
I'm going to stumble. I'd stumble over my words here for 20 minutes trying to put all that together. I wasn't deserving, and I know that I do deserve things, but I didn't deserve to be sitting here in front of you, Jeremy Johnson, and that's powerful. If anybody could have known, John Haynes and what his habits were like 15 years ago, you would have said the same thing. There's no way you end up owning your own business, talking to the lead pastor of a multi-campus church on a podcast.
Yeah.
What's a podcast?
Right. Yeah. I love what Jesus is doing through you. So a little bit how we've been connected. I mean, I've met you before, but I remember thinking, and probably a lot of people listening get this occasional feeling like, okay, I got to do something different to get a different result. And Leanne and I, we live right by Snap Fitness. We live right by Snap Fitness, where you're at, and we'd drive by. And for me, I'm like, okay, convenience. Like I need to move, and it's not working for me, and I've got a billion excuses. It's really tough when I'm a minute and a half away to get an excuse. So we walk in there I think it was a fall day, and so we're just shopping rates. We don't know. We're just trying to take advantage of a fleeting feeling to maybe do something. And you were there. You're running the shop there, and you talked to us. We reconnected from church, and you introduced yourself and like making that connection. And at the time, we're like, okay, well, we're looking. Months go by because that fleeting feeling left. And so I remember you texting, hey, if you're interested, if you have any questions, I'd love to help. Did you find a place? So it wasn't like you got to go to my place, but you were like, hey, did you find a place? I'd love to know where you're at in your journey. And then it was almost embarrassing for me. I'm like, well, no, I actually, no, I've not found a place other than my couch. So I remember when we signed up, it was this last spring to say, and I'm not at a spot where you dare give me a Snap Fitness shirt and be a model. So I still threaten to do that because you'd be like, you are not my product. But
you are.
But I remember going in and saying, okay, hey, I think I really want to do this. And you tap into, we talk Enneagram, you tap into the winning competitive vibe of, okay, hey, wear this thing, and now we're in a competition every month. And I love that stuff.
Speaking your language?
Yeah, speaking my language, learning how to speak my language. And then you would give me, so I remember thinking as a pastor the whole time, and I know this will translate to different people as they listen. Like, man, you do this so well because you didn't make me feel judged for delaying my next step, even though I'm pretty sure you knew that was my next step, and I knew it was my next step. I felt sheepish coming in there, and I remember you were just kind, not judgmental, but probably knew what was needed, and you helped my next step. Then I would get all in it. And then I'd feel like, okay, if I'm not going to win this month in this competition, if I'm not going to be in the top 10 where the scoreboard's going to show next month, then I'll bag the rest of the month. But then you'll text, say, hey, haven't seen you around. I know there's lots of ways to work out. You doing well? Anything you need? Let me know. I hope you're doing well. And I know you're probably thinking like, get your butt back in the gym, get on this treadmill or something. But the way you do it, I was like, man, I felt so drawn in, so known, so needed, so accepted. And I'm like, man, I hope people feel that way when they come to North Point.
Where could I possibly have learned how to do that?
Brad Fox and Jeremy Alvarez.
Well, Brad Fox, absolutely.
Yeah.
I love me some Brad Fox, and he knows my journey, and so does Jeremy. And I have, I've had more opportunities to talk personally with him in the past than I had you.
Yeah.
But times are changing, and now I'm getting more time in front of you.
Yeah.
But the way you said that to me is all I could think about was coming back at you and saying, well, I learned from one of the best that I know of embracing people, making people feel welcome, making people feel unjudged. Because what happens when you walk into a fitness facility, and what's the nature of humans anyway, is to judge. Right. And a fitness facility just puts you on stage, and ours isn't much different than as far as the stage goes, because if you walk in and stand on a treadmill, somebody can see you. You're on stage, and that's threatening, and that's intimidating to a lot of people, especially if it's a lot of times a weight loss goal is intimidating because they immediately feel judged. And so one of my early goals on this, because of how I felt walking into certain rooms that I just described, was that I wanted everybody to feel welcome. Like, hey, yeah. I have a chance. And if I got the opportunity to talk with them personally, which I have, a lot of them have become personal clients and longtime friends, they know my whole story, and they know why now that I wanted them to feel welcome, because there was a time in my life that I didn't. I didn't feel welcome, but that was on my own. I still had to go do something.
Right.
And I want them to understand that too. It's not going to be easy. You're going to still have to walk through this door or a door. It doesn't have to be this gym. And frankly, it doesn't have to be a gym at all, but we got to move, and we got to move. We got to connect. It saved my life, and I won't shut up about it.
Yeah. Well, I love it. And we had Jeremy Meyer on one of my first episodes too. But both you, it's unique because you do different things, but you're in the same field of, I want to help people experience health.
Absolutely.
And movement. And what I love from both experiences, and I'm sure it's true with a lot of different places, but I know it's true in this case, I know it's true in Jeremy's, is that this drive of community.
Yeah.
And I've seen you do that. I've seen you when you're doing your personal training with people. You're committed, you're connected, and what you said you want to do, you're doing that. And I love that. You're making a difference in people's lives. Now, I want to shift this and walk through specific, how do we help people take next steps? What is the role of a personal trainer? Now, I want you to talk through the lens of what you're doing as a coach. I'm thinking about it through the lens of a spiritual coach, of saying, okay, what are we doing? What spiritual next step might we have as we're listening? But let's start with this. What are some common excuses that keep people out of their next steps, that keep people away from taking that next step, that you probably hear all the time? Common excuses.
I'm not gonna fit. Not enough time. I need to start there. Time is always way up high on the list. And you spoke Jeremy Meyer, and I love what he does. There are differences in what him and I do, but there are a lot of similarities too. I think I can say this. What he does is a little sexier than what I do. It's a little, you can take that a few different ways. CrossFit has sometimes gets a bad name, but if you have great coaches like Jeremy, you can succeed in CrossFit. And so some people are intimidated by the CrossFit name itself. Great community, great people, but I'll speak more on what you asked me. Excuses are on all sides of this, and time is one of them. But any other excuses that follow time usually still come back around to time.
Okay,
and that's what I have found.
So when you hear that, you ever think, wow, you're right, you're probably way too busy to move,
I want to, yeah, boy, if I came back like that though, right?
Right.
I have some facetious undertones sometimes.
But do you really believe that should stop somebody?
No, but I do feel like it's not my job to tell them that they're wrong.
Right.
A person's got to try to figure that out on their own. I know that I did, but I can be kind in my delivery on talking to them about their time.
Right.
And not just blow them off like, okay, well, you don't have time. I understand. You don't have time.
Right.
Instead, I try to have a conversation that involves what are you doing with your time?
Yeah.
And sometimes people don't like that, so that may have burnt them. Other times they've came back and said, hey, you said something that struck a chord, and I can find time. The time is here. The time is there. We're a 24/7 facility. I have kind of a no excuse situation there with our gym. You can come in anytime you want.
Right.
But that's huge. Time is such a big excuse. And helping somebody alter their thinking about it is sensitive.
Right.
Because time is so valuable to you. It's so valuable to me. Somebody's time. How dare you tell me what to do with my time?
So what are some, and I know you wouldn't and did not approach it like this and combat the thought, but if we take the people away from it and we're just talking the topic, why is that just not true, that we don't have time to move?
Because we have, I think Verizon or Apple could give us plenty of data on what we're doing with our time,
right?
And we're staring at screens, and I'm guilty. I don't sit here and talk and say that I'm not guilty of these things. I eat pizza. I don't drink soda or alcohol, but I do indulge in things that are less than fitness friendly sometimes. But I want to say that it's a journey,
right.
But time can't be the ultimate excuse because
right.
there's so much time.
Right.
I could dive into this for a long time with you.
We don't have time.
I know. Exactly. See where I'm going?
Let me ask some specific questions on, so what do you do? Like, let's say a general, and I know everybody's unique, but when someone says, I need some help, okay, yeah. I want to pay you to be my fitness coach. Right. What are some things that are important to add? What are some things that you want to guarantee the best shot at success in their life?
That they can commit to a schedule, because if they can't commit to a time, the likelihood of getting results goes way down. And in my industry, it's not exactly cheap to hire somebody, and right. it's an extra expense. And then so we're in my world we're looked at like, oh my gosh, I have to pay somebody to help me work out. But until you've actually paid for a service, which I definitely believe in investing in people and human services. I think it's a great investment, not just because I'm in that industry, but you make that investment into somebody, but then being able to commit to the time frame and the schedule and then my plan, which is hard because I'm not selling something tangible. It's not tangible. You want me to give you that amount of money to meet with you and make me sweat? It's always been a difficult conversation to have. But what I have in my belt these days are results, and I have stories of results, and I have people that would stand here with you and talk to you about why they got results. Right. Well, they committed to time, and I committed to them. Right. They had to have they hired somebody, and I was that person, and I had the opportunity.
So you said the word plan. So does everybody someone wants to get serious about taking those healthy next steps, how important is a plan?
A plan is huge.
But what if they're motivated? Do they still need a plan?
I love the way you put this, because everybody's, at the end of the day, it's just got to be movement. And some of that movement has to be challenging. Not every single body, not every human body is designed to move the same way. And so when we look at a plan, or when I look at a plan, it has to make sense for that person's world, their functional life. So I work from athletes to geriatrics, and so a plan.
Which one am I closer to?
Well,
Don't answer. Don't feel free.
I won't. I won't.
don't
That was loaded. It was so loaded. But the plan isn't important. But
Right.
they hire me to count on that plan happening. And I'm stumbling on my words here, but. Everybody's plan isn't going to be the same, but there is one. I always try to dumb it down and make it simple. We got to move. We got to find a challenging way. You mentioned MyZone. Not all of my members wear MyZone. MyZone is some really cool heart rate monitoring technology that allows the member to see where they are in a percentage of their heart rate based on their maxed effort. It's a calculation done. That's pretty simple. And understanding what it takes to get to those zones is important. And how you do that can come in a number of different ways. Pickleball,
yes,
walking, which is something that when I drive by the new campus in Nixa, I envision people wanting to meet there to walk. And so we meet a lot to talk and we sit down, right?
Yeah.
Or a lot of people say, let's go meet for drinks and sit down and talk. Let's go meet and sit down and talk. I think this is a great opportunity for me to share a vision that I've had walking by there of like, hey, how come we don't meet at North Point Nixa and walk and talk?
Yeah.
Because when I start moving, my brain starts thinking better. I start feeling like I can have better conversations. Somewhat like alcohol does to people, and alcohol kind of turns and triggers you to start talking, and
right.
It's a lubricant. Well, movement, I have learned, does something very similar. It makes you want to talk, and I see that in my training sessions where somebody's walked through the door having the worst day and 0% interested in what I have to say. Within 15 minutes of even a 30-minute session, I'm dealing with a whole nother human being.
Right.
Actually pleasant, excited to be there, kind of believing in what I'm saying now, and that's a tough line to get past. But wow, what an opportunity I think that North Point and Nixa has to say, hey, and I've told Jeremy Alvarez, I could picture even a track around that land, but it doesn't have to be that. The sidewalks are there. Movement.
Right.
I wish we as a society could get out of this habit of meeting has to be over drinks.
Right.
Or why can't it just be water and walking?
Yeah.
But
I like it. I like your passion for movement. And I'm in the same boat. Spiritually, we always talk about next steps. Everybody has a next step. It's about movement. And we focus on results.
Yes.
We realize results only happen as proof of movements. And so don't be intimidated by the gap between the result you want and the reality you have. You got to start moving.
Yes. And just because you can't move like what you've seen at Jeremy's place at Springfield CrossFit, just because you can't do what you've seen there doesn't mean that at some point you might not be able to. You could get there, but you need to you got to be willing to take a step. And you you can step into his facility, you can step into my facility. You can step into a number of facilities and make a next step. And wow, North Point does a good job of talking about that, because every Sunday I'm on the service team and I'm still taking notes with you while you're doing you're pasturing over the screen, of course, but I'm still taking notes and thinking about what's today's next steps.
Yes.
I have to have them.
Yeah.
I'm getting goosebumps here sitting thinking about, how important that has been, and not a little thing, but something that I don't think about enough.
Right.
Like how I think about them, but I guess what I should say is the role that next steps have played are huge.
Yeah.
And you hit it so well.
Well, one more topic I want to talk on the health related industry, and I think it's so true in the spiritual journey one as well, is how important is diet to overall health? It's
critical. And we have so many things shoved in our face that so many options, right? So many fads, and at the end of the day, and I want to keep this simple for anybody listening, because anybody I talk to, I try to keep it simple too. Your body gives you clues and cues on what feels good when you put it in, and you have to decipher what feels good, what gives me the right kind of energy. Now we can go a lot of different ways there when we say, what would we put in our body that makes me feel good? Right. What do you put in your body that gives you a great outcome of good energy, good clean thinking, and not this overloaded, feel like I just want to go to sleep. And a number of foods, we could talk all day about those, do that to us. Diet is critical. there's so many ways to look at it that you have to be a science project.
If someone hired you and says, "Hey, I want you to be my health coach. Here's the result I want," and you start talking about diet, and they said, "No. I don't want you talking about my diet. I just want you to talk about my results." Right. How's that going to hinder your?
It's tough because I've actually had those kind of clients that have specifically said, "Hey, I don't want to change what I'm eating and drinking." I mean, yes, to my face, and yet I have this expectation. Well, those same individuals, after a couple of years, changed their thinking because they weren't getting results. But I was easily able to say to them, without being a jerk, like, "Hey, you called yourself out in the beginning and said these are problems, but I'm not willing to look at them. Yeah. And you're moving better. Your range of motion's a little bit better. Your balance is a little bit better, but you're still not attacking what you initially wanted." And then when they grab the reins on that, it's unbelievable how things change. Even just a few months later, a different person's walking in the door.
I think faith is so connected there, in the sense of, we all need next steps.
Yep.
If you're listening to this and you're like, "I'm just not happy with where I'm at. I don't feel I'm vibrant spiritually," take a step.
Yep.
What's a step? Invite God to speak to you. I also think having a plan, having a rhythm. You're talking about when am I investing into my health? The question is, when are we investing into our spiritual health? What is my rhythm? There's always going to be something that comes up. I'm not saying you need to get gold stars for church attendance, though I don't think it hurts when we gather and we're reminded of our vision.
Yes.
But I also think no matter what good things we do, no matter how many we serve, I think it's important to reflect on our diet. What am I bringing into my life, into my spirit, into my entertainment that goes against the very things I'm trying to create?
Right.
What if I'm working harder than I ever need to and I'm not making the difference I want to make, and it's just because I've compartmentalized what I'm taking in?
Yeah.
And so whether you're listening and you're geeking out about the health side, you're thinking about the spiritual side, man, I hope this gives some good questions for you to consider. What is your next step? And don't be intimidated about the gap that you have. Be motivated by the step that you have. And John, I love what you're doing. I want you to know you do a great job at it. And I really think you're making a difference in people's lives. I'm thankful that you're a North Pointer, man. I think you represent North Point well. And I know that Jesus not only has impacted your life, I know you're also a great dad. I've been able to see you with your daughter. And I know that's such a big deal to you. If I could go back in time to the John that is struggling and the John that is wandering, I would say, hey, take a step, man.
Yeah.
Because I can imagine what it might look like if you string a bunch of those steps together, because that's what you are.
It's beautiful.
God is good.
Next steps.
Grace is awesome.
Next steps.
We all got a next step.
Yes, sir.
So, Riff listeners, thanks for being with us today. Snap Fitness, East Sunshine.
Yes.
Next time you're at Dairy Queen, swing on by.
And, thank you for the shout out.
Yeah. We'll talk to you later. Thanks, John.
Thank you.
Thanks for listening to this episode of The Riff. We'll have a brand new episode every week, wherever you find podcasts.